In Nebraska, residents are picking up the pieces after devastating tornadoes swept through the heartland on Friday, leveling buildings and leaving a path of destruction. Multiple tornadoes touched down in the Cornhusker State, with the hardest hit areas being ravaged by powerful EF3 tornadoes. One of those places, Elkhorn, not far from Omaha, where the tornado hit there just as students were getting out of school. And joining us now from Elkhorn, Nebraska, is Eric Crawford with St. Patrick's Catholic Church, where he is the advancement director there. Eric, thank you so much for coming on today. And please know that we're praying for all of you there. As I mentioned, that tornado hit just about the time when school was letting out. How did you all handle that situation, and how were you able to keep everyone safe and calm?
As dismissal, at the end of the day with dismissal, we invited, parents to come inside and go to a, shelter, down in the basement of the church. And then some of the families, chose to leave. But, it's something we've learned from. And, just with, being severe weather season here in Nebraska still, we had another, storm system roll through this afternoon. We're always looking to, make sure we keep everybody safe. But I think everyone at the school did a good job at remaining calm and getting people where they needed to go.
And how did it affect you all? I mean, did it damage the school or the church at all? Did it sustain any damage?
We were very fortunate. There was very minimal damage, at the school and the parish. Some tree branches down or the houses next door to us. But if you were to go, immediately, west of our church and school, about a half mile, there was significant damage where there were blocks where houses were just completely leveled. Our rectory actually was missed by probably about 4 blocks, but it's Mother Nature's power is pretty incredible. And so there were some neighborhoods that were just completely destroyed. And so we are currently working with about 35 to 40 families and connecting them with different resources. And the amount of people that have reached out to our parish offering assistance in so many ways, housing assistance, financial assistance and whatnot, has been pretty overwhelming.
I can imagine. And how many families are you helping right now who need assistance?
We have, I think, 38 families that have reached out to us or we've connected with. And the degree of need varies. Some people have lost absolutely everything, and they need toothbrushes. I mean, because everything was taken from them. But other families, their houses were destroyed. They need to move temporarily until things can get fixed and worked out. But the 38 families right now we're assisting, connecting with different resources. Our human needs committee chair is doing a great job at making sure we're connecting the dots thoughtfully and assisting in a thoughtful way.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard for many of us to understand sort of the wrath of Mother Nature and what happens there. And I understand that one particular parish family has a miraculous survival story. And it's really unbelievable what they had to do to keep the father safe, who's quadriplegic. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, there was one, they are, Father Tom, our pastor had mentioned they were parishioners here at St. Pat's. And, as the storm was approaching, my understanding the wife and their son, they got on top of their dad and their husband just to try and protect him because he's bedridden and couldn't get down to shelter. And so the roof came off, and it's that pretty miraculous that they all survived, and had some injuries, but it was very minimal considering the circumstances, especially. And then there's two crosses, and then a picture of the Virgin Mary were on the walls still, and they were unscathed during it all. So I think it's that definitely is a miracle, and it gives me goosebumps telling that story, and seeing the pictures. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it really is miraculous. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this with us, Eric. We're praying for all of you. God bless.
We appreciate it. Thank you, Tracy.